Welcome to Health Tech Heroes, where we talk to innovators who are rewriting the DNA of healthcare. Today, we are joined by Fincy Yousuff, a dynamic leader in intersection of healthcare and fintech, currently serving as Vice President of Growth in Equipo Health Inc. With a career spanning leadership in agile and innovation-driven environments, Fincy has overseen major growth initiatives, championed customer success, and fostered positive cultures of continuous improvement. Her journey from a technical background to a growth strategist and industry mentor is both inspiring and instructive. We are delighted to explore Fincy's personal and professional story, the challenges her team faces, her vision for the future of health tech. Welcome to Health Tech Heroes, Fincy.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here with you guys. So I'm really excited about the intro that you've given. I mean, I think it summed up a lot of things that I've done, and I think it's kind of a realization when you hear it from somebody else when they're introducing you. So thank you so much for that.
And you're welcome. And we are, by nature of it, you have put yourself in a very innovative situation, and it has to be driven by innovation. And I think I will have a lot of opportunity to learn from you and your mindset. Can you share your personal journey? What early experiences shaped your passion for technology and healthcare, and how these experiences influenced your career path?
Absolutely. So when I speak about how my career has gone, it's going to be probably a lot of roller coaster rides, and there's going to be a lot of emotions. I'm probably going to be quoting a lot of stories when I speak about this. So when I started right after college, I was just fresh into coding, and I'd just been introduced to C, C++, and Java, PHP. So these are the buzzwords, and I was an IT grad. So initially I started off by coding, and then I started getting curious around if I code something, what happens next? So I started testing. So when I joined a health tech firm, it's the initial stages of my career. So across my career, I've worked in, ed tech, health tech, agri tech, fintech. But when I started in health tech, the one thing that caught my attention was how we impacted people's lives. So one of the first firms that I joined was a health tech that was specializing in sleep industry. So I remember one precise moment where we were helping a client, and this is a sleep lab, and there's a child. It's a baby. It's like a 10-month baby who is going through a sleep test. And that's when it struck me that there's somebody who's coordinating the sleep pattern for the baby, and it's late in the night. Baby's mom is finding it difficult to nurture the baby, and the technician calls us for some help that he needed with the software. And that's when it struck me, how technology helps the lives of people who are trying to make a change for other people as well, right? So the patient over there is a 10-month-old baby. If the technician has to give attention to the baby, somebody has to help the technician do their work properly. So that's the impact of technology in healthcare. You are providing sufficient help in terms of technology, which is essentially to make lives easier for people, right? But here you're making the lives easier of the people who are providing healthcare or services to patients. So though not directly, indirectly it started. That's how it started, prompting me that this is how things are going to be in healthcare, and this is where I want to be. I started reading about healthcare then onwards. But across my journey, I then went into understanding what it means to be in a tech industry. Everybody has this notion that tech industry means a lot of developers sitting and then a lot of testers testing, and then things going out of the blue, suddenly out of magic, right? But there's a lot of people involved in bringing a solution out. And so I wanted to witness and be part of every such journey. Believe it or not, I've sat through numerous such roles as a developer, as a tester, as a technical support engineer, as a transition manager, as a client success manager, as a project manager, product manager. So I stepped my way upwards into understanding what happens from throwing a solution from the developer's perspective onto the other side of the wall. Those are the people who sell the solution, right? So then I went into that part of being part of the solutioning and selling the solution to people who would need it. So I don't know whether I should be mentioning this. One of the things that I love following is Ikigai. So that's something that, has always helped me move forward. So you do what you love and you make sure that brings you a revenue. It has an impact. So if you look at that unison, it's not just about building a solution. It's about how you sell the solution, how you enjoy the work, and it also has an impact. So that's why healthcare and that's why health tech.
Wonderful. Ikigai is a word that is not easily translatable to any other language, and I live by it. It is something that has been an important part of my life for a long time, but really experiencing it
Yeah.
100%, and something you're good at too, right? There is a fourth component to that.
Yeah, it's something you're good at too. That exactly. So if you enjoy what you're doing and you know what you like the most, then you'd start thinking, with my talent, what do I do next? Right? What do I next? And if everybody does that, I think everybody will enjoy the work that they're doing as well.
And you did bring up these experiences, and you said you have been in agri, you have been in fintech, you have been in now health
EdTech.
tech as well, ed tech, yeah, educational technology. Is there a different mindset when you're on the technology side of health tech, which is very specific? It's very different than all the other 3 or 4 or 5 experiences that we have had.
Well, Fasad, the one thing that we all know is when technology initially came up, the only idea was to make lives easier for humans, right? Initially, everybody thought that technology means digitization. That used to be the term, right? Initially, everything used to be whatever people used to do manually, let's just digitize so that they can do it much faster or easier. So essentially, the underlying concept, whether it's health tech, whether it's ed tech, whether it's agri-tech, all remains the same. But everything has its own niche, right? They have their own intricacies. They have their own specifics. Like, for example, agri-tech. I worked in an AI company, AI-enabled agri-tech company, which was understanding this peculiarity of seeds, the quality of seeds, which was initially done, or even now traditionally done with just human eye. If given 10 seeds, there's somebody who can understand the difference between different seeds and whether they are of the same type or not. We'll never be able to do that. So finding a technology to surpass a human behavior and to bring that much of quality takes a lot of work and a lot of understanding and a lot of patience. But what's different about health tech is everything else depends on human lives indirectly and then revenue directly. Health tech is one such industry which I feel has a direct impact on life and quality of life that we provide. So the kind of work that we do, the measures, quality measures that we take upon ourselves is very important. It's easy to just create technology and put it out there. And if you have the best selling capability, you sell it out really well. But you need to have a sense of responsibility about the technology that you're putting out there as well. That's more important because you are taking the responsibility about the patient who's going to be impacted by the technology that you're creating. So, for example, we have AI solutions that we are building in-house, right? We have AI solutions that try to understand suicidal thoughts in people, tries to understand malnourishment in patients who are admitted in the hospital, or analyze the risk score of a patient. So you see, you're directly impacting a patient's life, because when a patient says indirectly that I am suicidal but does not give the right hints that the doctor be able to immediately understand, our job over there is to assist the doctor to take the right decision, right? The slightest chance that the patient could be suicidal should raise an alarm, because that's when you need to be involved in the patient's lives immediately. So you see how that impacts. I don't mean to say that any other industry does not have impacts as close, but what are we thriving for? We do all of this work to have a quality life. So essentially it's essence of life. So health tech, I think, has that particular, it's that aspect that you have to keep in mind. And that's what makes it completely different.
Yeah, great point. I think to sum it up, responsibility is important in any field, but
Yeah.
it's extraordinarily important in healthcare. So if you're
Yeah.
going to iterate your MVPs, the first MVP needs to be at a level that you're super confident about
Absolutely.
the health tech. And that's a big difference. And thank you very much for sharing that. So you have arrived at many of these conclusions of your ikigai. You have, of course, found your passion, and you have also arrived at this key factors that are important for health tech as a
Hmm.
responsibility, as a term. What can you share some experience which helped you arrive at a situation like this in a mindset which is should have taken some time, and perhaps an incident, if there is an incident?
Lots, because you don't reach anybody, right? Anybody who reaches a certain point in life, they go through multiple phases, right? They go through so many incidents that shape them up to be what they are. So let me quote one incident that probably hit with me real hard. So Equipo Health, the dream that I'm building with the other two partners of mine, Parijat and Praveen, we've been friends for like 15, 20 years now. So when we decided that we're going to build our dream, we kind of knew that we have to go somewhere that might cost us our personal lives as well. But we are building this for a reason. So it takes a lot of commitment to be able to do that. And I'm sure every entrepreneur goes through the same phase of, deciding what's right, what's not. But there was a time when I was probably 22, 23, really young, and I'm just deciding what I need to do. And a lot of energy, and this energy has to be channelized. I enjoy everything that I do, but it's Parijat, who's one of my mentors, Parijat, who's the CEO of the company as well. At that point, he was just a mentor to me who made me sit and made me think. You love everything that you're doing, but you have to have a passion towards something. There should be something that you really like, because that's what is going to drive you for 20, 30 years that you sit and work. And even beyond that, after 30 years, you should feel satisfied about the work that you do. And plus, you should have made an impact, maybe not directly. It might not be something that's award winning or something that people calls out for, but you should have a satisfaction in your mind that you did something drastically changing. And he's the one who probably paved my path to being what I am today. And the one thing that I asked him, I think I've said this in many stages, where I asked him, for nurturing me to this point, what do I give back to you? What do I give to you as a mentee? What do I give to you? And the only thing he said was, whatever I've taught you, if you felt that there's something that I've taught you, make sure that you pass it on to someone. And you just don't keep it inside you. Because the more you speak to people, the more you're ready to give this knowledge to someone. There'll be somebody else who will look upon to you as well. And I carry myself in such a way that I show a lot of patience, even if I have to repeat the same thing to my team like 5 times, 6 times, 7 times. I show that patience because there was once a man who showed patience towards me, right? If he hadn't shown the patience, probably it wouldn't have been easy for me to move forward. So Ikigai came because I needed to channelize my thought. If I become jack of all trades, I'm not going to be king of anything. Right? And I'm not going to be able to channelize my strength to something. So that's when Ikigai came, and I just started thinking, what is something that I really enjoy amongst all the things that I do? What am I really good at? What is it something that I can do forward for 20, 30 years and not feel bored at all? So probably that was one incident that helped me move forward. And then there was probably a couple of others. When you become an entrepreneur or you try to start something new, it's in your blood, right? You tend to overlook everything that goes past it. So I was working in an MNC. I was in a pretty good position. I was, making good money. When I decided to move out of all of that to build something, where people who actually asked me, Vincy, are you crazy? Can't you just sit where you're stable? Then there's an impact that you feel, right? When there are lives that matter, there are about 100 people who work with us. They work with us. They're like, I wouldn't say they're just team members. They work with us in building a dream. So when they have joined our journey, it's our responsibility to give it back to them as to, taking care of their growth. That's when I decided that I'm going to move into growth. Which other space, according to me, would there be where I could be at this point? Healthcare. And then you take care of your people's growth, the people who have decided to put their careers into your hands. So probably that's where I have, that's probably the unison that I found out on, healthcare and growth being my space to be.
Healthcare growth, and I think there's a lot of passion there too. You're not just thinking, let me do it for next 3 or 4 years and move
No,
on.
this is going to be how everything ends for me as well. I can see myself being in this lifelong, if not here, usually at colleges, trying to nurture the younger generation, giving back to the society, or then at some health tech conference, which is all our ways of trying to give back to the society that we've come through, or people impacted us, and we are, trying to make some sort of a mark back.
That's pretty remarkable. So glad you're doing what you're doing. 22, 23. I was on a motorcycle somewhere in deserts of Texas with a bandana on without a helmet. That was me in 22, 23.
Well, I have done a lot of other stuff as well, which I obviously can't put it out in public in social media. So let's just keep it at that.
Fair enough. Fair enough. At Equipo Health,
Equipo, yeah.
what are the core offerings your company provides, and how do they address today's healthcare needs? And if you can differentiate how Equipo is placed where no one else has a solution for certain problem.
Okay. So I'm going to probably start by saying where we want to be. and then go back to why, we've gone through the journey that we've been in the past 10 years. It's been a decade, close to a decade now. So we want to get to a point where patient is the driving factor for probably a point of care. Right now, that the point of care is revolving around physicians and care providers, which is absolutely right. There's nothing wrong in that. But slowly things are transforming to the point where the point of care should slowly be translated towards where the patient is. And I'll explain why. You see what COVID did to all of us. It made us sit at home where nobody could go to the doctor, and the doctors were coming through telehealth to the patient or coming to the point of care where the patient is. So let's say tomorrow I become diabetic, and I'm on a holiday. I need to get through to my appointment. It essentially means that me as a patient, my involvement should be as important as the place of care. It shouldn't be limited to a hospital or a center, but to the care that is given to the patient, because that's where all of it lies, right? Underlying concept is that. So how involved are patients now? The involvement of patients towards their care is as limited to them walking to a hospital, meeting a doctor. The simplest thing is wellness care, for example, right? How many of us do our annual checkups, annual wellness visits? How many of us, if let's say that we have a fever, we might go to the doctor once and then we might do a follow-up within ourselves saying, I think I'm okay. That's all that we do. But we never know whether this might be an underlying cause of something else. So slowly transforming point of care towards patients or patient activation is where we want to be. Now, if we want to be there, we had to systematize the way we come towards it. So we started off with one single service. Company Equipo is named after our pivot product called Equipo. We build our in-house products, and we started off with one service, and then we started revolving everything around that service. When we started off with a referral management platform where, let's say, there's a siloed hospital and a siloed partner. There's a PCP and a specialist, and they are trying to pass information. They have their own EMRs, which are siloed between, right? I mean, there's nothing between them. There's no connection between them. So we started becoming the channel for information to pass from the PCP to the specialist and bringing the information back. Now, let's say they bring the information back, we became the channel, but we understood that there should be one place where all of the patient's information must be there. It can't be separated out, segregated in different places. So then we became the center spot where we kept patient 360 at the heart of everything. We started building solutions around that. So we started off with remote patient monitoring so that you can monitor your patient remotely. Chronic care management, where if you have a chronic patient, you'll be able to have a proper care plan so that you can take care of the patient. We started moving into transition care, wellness care, social determinants of a patient, because your social factors matter, how your health is going to be for the next 10 years. Slowly around that, we started building 14 services around just patient referral. And all of these started becoming something not just as a solution to some problem, but we started bringing out operational efficiency around that, which means that we started bringing out dashboards and analytics. This I'm talking about probably 2018, 2019-ish, by the time when we had all the services in there. Now you digitized people, do next. Once you digitize, now you have to simplify. So we changed the motto of our company to simplify healthcare together. That's why the name Equipo came into being. So let's simplify healthcare, you and I together, right? So we become at the center, all our partners come together and we simplify healthcare. Now, after we got to that point where we brought people together, now we have to make it much easier for them to use the system. You can't just show them a platform and tell them to do all the work around that. You have to make it simplified. So we started automation around that. So now we come closer to COVID, and COVID hits. So we made a point that as a firm, we be able to serve the society as well, where we even went to a point where we did not receive payments for quite a long time, but we sustained the firm, we sustained the organization just because we knew that there's people out there, doctors out there, putting their heart and soul into solving the current problem. So we also had to put our 2 cents out there, and our 2 cents was helping them whichever way possible. We started pushing out solutions after solution to help them do remote monitoring for their patient. So then after a couple of years, now we had automation in, we had done a lot of dashboards and analytics. We had a lot of analytics within their own data so that they can mine the data and understand what's happening to your patients. So then we went to another point. We understood that we've, raised a lot of knowledge within ourselves. Maybe between the three of us, Parjat, Praveen and I, we might have close to anywhere around close to 50 years of experience between us. So we decided that now it's time that we put our energy out there to help other people who has an idea, but they don't know how to make that a solution, right? A lot of people are there who do have an idea, but they don't know how to make that as a product or to market that as a product or to, you know, make a business model out of it. So then we built a parallel wing to the company called Equipo Business Solutions, where we became strategic partners to people who had an idea and we built the solution, we marketed it, we strategized it for them, and that became a secondary successful wing for us. But we didn't stop with that because then it's just us building solutions. Now came the era of AI becoming so quick in healthcare. It started becoming a boon in healthcare. It was for a very long time, but people were shy in terms of accepting AI in healthcare because people were, they were thinking whether there would be problems around AI coming into the picture and taking decisions for the doctors, and whether there would be errors around that. But then we started building our own AI models. We went into the bandwagon of bringing in AI solutions where we went a little different from what the industry was doing. There were a lot of people who were creating synthesized data, models on synthetic data. The problem with synthetic data is it's not reliable on the actuality of what's happening on the ground. So then we utilized what the knowledge that we had. We went back to the drawing board with our clients. We don't call them our clients, we call them our partners because they build the solution along with us. We championed with a couple of our partners to build solutions that they are now using in their own in their centers. Like I mentioned earlier, the suicide prevention model that we build, or the must model that we build on malnutrition, or the in-house models that we are building to help other physicians out, commonly in solutions that can be used commonly, ambient listening, generative AI. Now we've gone into the mode of building a lot of agentic solutions so that you reduce the workload on the people who are producing or providing care to the people. They concentrate on the most important part. The one thing that everybody has to remember who's working in healthcare is there is a thin line of difference between human and agent. People are slowly forgetting it. I hope people get reminded that people feel fatigue. Humans feel fatigue. That's probably one of the most important differentiation between humans and bots. Bots do not feel fatigue. They don't get tired or they don't need a break. But having said that, if you're trying to help people overcome their fatigue on work that probably is tiring them, then you build the solution in such a way that you are enhancing or empowering them to do their work properly. That's it, right? If you start thinking that you can replace the knowledge that a doctor has gained over 30 years of him working or her working in the industry, then you're wrong. You can't just look at a patient and say, you have headache, you have body pain, you have COVID. You can't do that. You don't diagnose, you do predictive analytics. So that's the journey of Equipo. We are now 4-5 products in. We have our own patient engagement platform. We have our own app called Contigo. We are now building our own products and we are helping others build their products and AI solutions.
That's awesome. I'm glad that you started with the very patient-focused applications, 14 of those. And my question was, when we talk about health systems, there are health systems, then there are the healthcare providers. I think I like to differentiate that. And I think the health tech going forward should be helping the healthcare providers, not necessarily the health system, but the healthcare providers. There are a lot of pain points there, and then the patient pain points, right? And I'm glad that you're also addressing and you have long-term plans to address the healthcare provider pain points as well. And all this ambient listening and everything does help there. I'm very glad about that. Going forward, it looks like you had plenty of wins with Equipo. What is the win that you talk about at the dinner table with your family? Like, hey, we did this.
So I'm going to say something that's very funny. My son has decided that he's not getting into IT or technology just because he sees me work, but he wants to serve people, but that's a different story. The reason why he says that is because he keeps telling me, I don't know whether I'll have so much of passion, in building what you build. Or each time I go up to my family and tell them that, listen, today we got selected for so-and-so competition or contest. Our product got featured here. It's not bigger wins, it's smaller wins that add up to huger accomplishment. For example, back we got a great place to work certified. So that's testament from our people that they are happy working here. They wouldn't be happy if it's not. It's so if you've seen the Great Place to Work, the survey, it's basically a survey done by the employees about the company, and it's anonymous. Nobody knows who's writing what. Scores were showed that people were happy. They knew there was a purpose in what they're building. So more than me being happy at my dining table with my family, I want all of the team members to be happy as well. So them giving us the Great Place to Work certificate essentially shows that, and I did, to be honest, I did shed a few tears when I announced it to the team that we are Great Place to, work certified, because it was them gifting that to us, the team gifting that to us. That was a win. That is a huge win for the company, where we were able to tell people that starting small and then slowly growing to become 50 to 100 people. The journey that we took. It was an answer to a lot of people that we will be able to build things. We didn't have to speak. Our actions showed it. Showed a couple of other things probably would have been. So NASCOM, which generally is, about NASCOM. So NASCOM has competitions or contests that they bring out for firms, and NASCOM had an AI Game Changer Award, and we were 60 or 50 or 60 in the country for AI solution amongst 500 to 600 applicants that were there. So that was like a huge win for us, because we were a small company. I mean, competing against giants like Microsoft or Google or Oracle, and being a small firm of building AI solutions in-house at, late nights just paid off. And our patient engagement app, Contigo, we were featured in Arab Health. That's one of the places that Middle East is one of the places that I'm trying to pivot our company into. So Arab Health, or World Health as they are now rephrasing themselves to be. Last year, we were one of the finalists for their Startup Game Changer Awards. These are smaller wins, Fasad, but these wins essentially help us feel proud about the solutions that we're building. So the smaller wins are more than enough. Having said that, so the suicide prevention model, it's something that, because of the suicide prevention model, one of the psych department hospital doctors was able to find out a patient who was suicidal, but it was not very clear from the way he spoke, but we understood the pattern through NLP, that the patient was psychotic and suicidal, and we had flagged that up, and we could save the patient's life. And the doctor came back to us and said, your solution actually helped find a patient who was suicidal. That showed that we are making impact to actual patient life, and nothing like it. All the late nights and, all the hard work and toil, all of that, it's absolutely okay as far as there's impact on people.
Yeah, you hear one story like that and everything becomes worth it. I just got goosebumps
Absolutely.
just thinking about what could have been without the technology in place.
Absolutely. That's the strength of technology.
I'm sure there are a lot of success stories. Looks like one success story for every dinner. But what kind of challenges do you face?
So I did mention that I show a lot of patience. So does the other. I mean, I know Faizan and Praveen also has to show a lot of patience. So when you are in the midst of innovators, and I call them innovators because it's bulb moments that happen all the time when you're working with a team of people who are young and talented, and they are in that drive to do something really great. How do you contain that energy? Because I once had one of my AI engineers come up and ask me, Fincy, I saw a pattern. This is the pattern that we saw. Can I just diagnose this? And I'm like, no, you can't, because that's where you build responsible AI. And then we taught the concept of responsible AI to our engineers. And you have to be at the top of everything, because when you build a technology and put it out there, you can quietly say that, everything is fine, and just keep quiet about it. And it takes a lot of effort and responsibility to make sure that our tech that you build is ethical. It follows the norms that has to be followed. You can bluff through the system, but at some point you will be answerable, right? You have to make sure that your solutions are responsible, ethical. So there's this energy that you have to contain, but making sure that their talent or their focus is not lost. They should not feel that they're not building something, or they're building something that Fincy is saying. No, that's not the case. They need to own it so that they'll be able to support it through as well. So that probably is, I would say, is a happy challenge to have. I wouldn't say it's too much of it's not negative as such. It's a very happy challenge to have. But more so from an industry perspective, the patience that we have to show is towards adoption. Adoption takes a very long time in healthcare, unlike certain industries which probably are much easier. You have a couple of meetings with the client and immediately they partner with you. But with healthcare, adoption is anywhere close to 3 to 4 months. And I'm sure all my fellow health tech leaders and leaders and founders will agree to this, that any adoption takes a little bit of time, especially because you're innovating. There is a trust factor that people have to build upon your solution. So imagine you're dealing with life, you're dealing with healthcare, and at that point, you're having to build something which you got to be sure is really good. You are sure, but it's about how people look at you and feel the same trust. Essentially, they are buying the solution from you. So it depends on how much of confidence Parijat or I or Praveen shows on this, on the demos or when we are meeting with them. But at the same time, we have to make them comfortable. It might take 2 to 3 months, and we have to patiently go through all the due diligence that they have to go through. We are dealing with data. We are the custodians of their data. We have to make sure that they understand that the data is safe with us and that it's not going to be misused. So we, on a daily basis, we question ourselves. We do a retro on ourselves to make sure that we are doing the right things. And that's not easy. Working in healthcare, having to do a retro upon yourselves while making sure that your clients are comfortable and making sure that you're always on top of things. Regulations in our country, and we are in the US, so regulations in the US are changing now. You might know about these CMS changes that are coming in, and we are immediately adopting. We want to be an early adopter to the changes that CMS is bringing in, because the changes that they are asking for are really, really beneficial. So we want to be supporting CMS in making sure that they be able to fulfill their vision. So you have to be at the top of things, and that's a humongous challenge, because you have to strike a balance between product innovation and what the industry needs, making sure that you are right in front of the market, because first people to reach the market are the people who will be noticed. So we don't want to be behind the picture. So in my eyes, I think the challenges that we generally face are mostly around adoption, which we are patiently understanding that it will take time. It's something that we learned the tough way, and striking a balance between innovating and it's a daily challenge, and making sure that we stay afloat. We're completely bootstrapped, so we have to make sure that we are on top of our A game while making sure our resources are utilized properly.
Thank you very much for an overview, giving a great answer, basically going inside out, right? So from with your team,
Yeah.
with your mindset, and then finally your clients, then the policy changes to appreciate that. That brings us, obviously, you are a thought leader in this area. So with your vantage point in both healthcare and also fintech, right? I understand that you come back from fintech too, but mostly from healthcare. Where do you see the greatest opportunities and possible pitfalls emerging for this industry, for healthcare?
So I think I'm going to stick with AI. The one thing that it's going to be a boon. It's both sides, The reason being, like I mentioned earlier, how you use AI is going to be very critical. Healthcare is going to drastically see a lot of changes coming with agentic AI going into, trying to push its way into healthcare. Now, everybody cannot innovate inside healthcare, right? People who are receiving technology and people who are providing technology both have to be on the same place. Otherwise, this is not something that can be easily achievable. So think about it this way. Somebody who's building AI should have it in their mind that they are building something for somebody to use. What sometimes happens is you stop empathizing with the people who are using the system. And you cannot build a solution if you can't empathize. That's point number one for sure. So for healthcare, I feel that people healthcare providers, the people who are accepting the solution, should start building a trust based on the basis of understanding that this is something that will evolve as you use the system. AI is not magic. It's not that, voila, you just build something. It's something that will take two people to work together, right? That, let's say, the provider has to work with them and the technology solution architect should work together to make sure that they build a solution that will evolve over time. Initially, when you start, you might have an 80% accuracy, but you should be happy with that and ready to adopt on a maybe minuscule basis or a beta basis, where you say that I'll use your system, but I'm going to manually do the same thing as well. When I gain confidence in the system, I will be able to give a feedback. So that's how you loop. So in healthcare, we always say close the loop to make sure that the patient gets the care and you close the loop completely. Similar loop is needed for health tech as well, for technology as well. You need to close the loop. You need to give it feedback so that it relearns, unlearns something, relearns, and probably, learns a little bit more about what it has to build. I wouldn't say so much of a pitfall as such, because healthcare is something that will always have innovations, because quality of life matters. You saw how quickly people provided. I keep going to COVID because that's the best example that you and I, we can speak to our younger generations or our grandkids and tell them that, we saw a phase where we had to sit at home for 8 months because such a minuscule, virus was able to keep us at home. So that's when we started innovating. It's going to go through that phase where healthcare is going to always have innovations. We have to have an open mind both ways. Healthcare providers or people who are using the solution and the people who provide. So AI is going to have a humongous impact. And I urge anybody who's watching this, all health tech founders and, innovators and solutioning architects, engineers, anybody who works in the health tech industry, to please remember that you're responsible for what you're making, to make sure that you keep that always in your mind, that even if nobody asks us or questions us, we be ethical, responsible, and, we know the social impact of what we are building.
Thank you very much for sharing that. A really great call to action. What advice would you give to new entrepreneurs and leaders who are coming into this industry? I think you have given that advice already, but this is a very specific question. What is that mindset they have to bring, and it's like non-negotiable when they're coming in this on two aspects? One is to do right by the patients, and the second is to be successful in this industry.
I don't know if I have the expertise to, go ahead and give advice, but I will probably give the people who are listening to this my 2 cents of what has helped me and what I've been following as a pattern within myself, that I do this day in, day out. I want to fail fast. And it's very important that I fail fast. The faster I fail, the easier it makes me understand that it's okay that I failed, because I understood this is not going to work out. One of the things that generally happens with entrepreneurs or founders or startup founders is that they love their solution so much that they forget what the problem statement is. They forget why they are building the solution. Who is it being built for? They forget to empathize. So what happens is they get stuck to the solution, which is their baby. What they have to remember is your baby is not the solution alone. It's the solution to the problem statement that you're trying to build. So don't ever forget the problem statement and fail fast. The faster you fail, you put it into the market, see if it works out. Doesn't work out, find another solution. So if you get hooked to the solution too much, even after you seeing the red flags out there that's not working out, then the chances of you succeeding is dim, right? And I spoke about empathizing. I pull that back. The more you empathize with the people who you're building the solution for, the easier it becomes for you to create the solution, because you'll understand he needs it for this. Okay, this is the solution I'm going to build. Or this is how your pattern of work is from Monday through Friday. Fine. So then I'll give you this solution. It becomes easier when you stand on the shoes of the people who you are building, or who's going to buy the solution from you. Somebody has to buy it from you. That's how you're going to make money. At the end of the day, you're building a business. So if you have to make it profitable, you make it in such a way that you put less capital, but you be able to utilize that capital to bring the best solution out. And I don't know, I keep going back to Ikigai, but I urge everybody to read the book, if possible, or at least understand the concept. It'll take you some time, but be patient. You be humble enough to understand that the logic of Ikigai, I think most of the things will be personal life, be it professional life. And I say personal life for a startup founder, it's not going to be easy. And it's not at all easy. It's always going to be a lot of failures, which people don't see. They see the flowery side of how things were really good. They forget what all it takes on your mental health, on your finances, etc. But be patient. You be humble enough. Even if you succeed, you stay humble and you follow your heart. You follow Ikigai. Somewhere I feel that that's more than enough. You take one day at a time. You have a vision, everything will fall in place.
Thank you very much. And personally, advice taken. And I'm sure the listeners.
Thank you.
Before we wrap up, Fincy, you have 90 seconds. If you want to take 4 minutes, that's okay too. To share anything that we might have missed or reiterate anything that you think is very important.
Knowledge. I just want to emphasize the point that the lesser you read, the lesser knowledge you're going to gain, whatever you read. I urge everyone to please read, because the one thing that I'm seeing that's happening around the world is a little bit of knowledge and a lot of talk is very harmful. So what happens is, if you don't read and you are not appraised of what is happening around you, you don't get to a point where you would know what's the next step you would have to take. the more you read, the more knowledge you accumulate, it's only going to be better for you, because it'll help you move forward, not just in your professional life, but in your personal life as well. I know this is nothing related to what we are speaking, but I would urge everybody to be cautious about their own time and punctuality. The Gen Z mode that I'm seeing right now, everybody finds it easy, or it's okay to, take away their own time. No disrespect to Gen Z. I love their passion. I love the way they carry themselves. But the more work that you do, invest in yourself in the beginning of your career, the easier it becomes as you move forward. So don't shy away from doing your 90 hours of work if need be during the first few years, where you do it in the right place. You decide where you want to be, you invest in yourself, you bring yourself to the point where you become crucial for yourself and for your existence, then everything just falls in place. So read, stay humble, and just be conscious about your time and your punctuality, about what's happening around you. I think that's
Thank you very much for your time, and I really appreciate your insights.